Are you a fan of American Ninja Warrior? Well, these are 10 behind the scenes facts that you don't know about the show. My name's 𝗘𝗟𝗘𝗖𝗧𝗥𝗜𝗖, and I'm a 4-time American Ninja Warrior national finalist. So I've competed on every course in many different cities, and I have a ton of behind the scenes facts to share with you that if you watch the show on TV, you would never know. Let's get into it. Number 1 is that the show is filmed overnight, and we don't stop until the sun rises. So if we're filming outdoors and you see the sky super dark, that's because we only film at night. And this means our sleep schedules end up getting super messed up too. So the next day we're gonna be waking up at like 2 or 3 p.m. We get on the shuttle at 5 p.m. We head to set, we get there around 8 p.m. and then we film all the way until 6 a.m. And when we're in Vegas, sometimes we're doing this for 3, 4, 5 nights in a row. So I'm sure you could imagine how tiring that gets. Number 2 is that we don't get to try any obstacles beforehand. Some people think that we might get to test the course or try out obstacles before we run, but no, anything you see on TV is our first run at the course, which is crazy because it all comes down to that one moment. You have to be so focused and so ready to run that course, and you get one shot. You fall in the water, you're out. No practice, no retries, you're done. And that's why American Ninja Warrior is so stressful. That's also why it feels so good when you hit that buzzer. Number 3 is that everything is so much bigger in person. When I first saw the American Ninja Warrior course in person for the first time, I could not believe how much bigger the obstacles look. You look up at the obstacles and you're like, I have to go on that, and you see how far it is from the water, especially stage 1 in Vegas, guys. When I saw the 3-ring circus for the first time, I thought I was gonna die if I fell in the water. It's like a 30-foot drop from that UFO, and that obstacle looked so hard. I'm grateful to have never fallen on that obstacle. People getting rashes from their belly flops, it's scary stuff. Let me play you a clip of when I fell in the V formation in season 13. That might not have looked like a far fall, but that was about 20 feet straight under my stomach, and I had a belly flop rash all over for 2 weeks. My scariest memory of looking at an obstacle and being like, how am I gonna do this, is the double dipper. I was on that platform, grabbing that bar, and I looked down for a second, and I realized that there was a 30-foot drop under me, so I better not let go. And I ended up beating the obstacle, but guys, if you're afraid of heights, American Ninja Warrior might not be for you.
Enzo, what are you doing?
Oh, I'm just testing the course. And that brings me to point number 4, which is there are course testers who run the course countless times in the warehouse and out on the actual filming set before we run the course. The testers are there to make sure all the obstacles are safe, to make sure all the obstacles are at the right difficulty level, so we don't have 100 people clearing the course, but we also don't want something to happen where nobody ends up clearing the course. The testers are a huge part of what makes the show happen. An obstacle I like to think of is tetherball. That obstacle went through rigorous testing before they got to the final product that they ended up putting on the show. And I fell on it, and it was easier than the testing version. But that's besides the point. Right before we take on the course, we all get to watch a course walkthrough, and that'll tell us the rules of each obstacle, and we get to watch the testers do each obstacle so we can see how we should do it for the course. Number 5 is that we don't know what the obstacles are beforehand. The first time we end up seeing the course is the night we're gonna compete. So we get to set, we see all the obstacles, and we have a couple hours to mentally prepare before we run. But that's why it's so important to set up replicas like I have here in my yard or at gyms across the country. For example, on the show there's an obstacle called the lunatic ledges, and I recreated it by taking this giant floating door and drilling a cliffhanger into the bottom of it. On the Ninja Warrior course, it's all about preparation because you only get one shot. Oh, my leg. No, I'm kidding. Number 6 is that you have to get a medical screening before you compete. To make sure that everyone is fit and fully healthy to run the course, you have to get a full medical screening, checking all different types of things like blood pressure. They hook up a bunch of things to your chest and do a bunch of screening things that I don't know about because I'm not a doctor. And then they check your weight, check your height, all the stuff that you do at a normal physical. And if you're cleared, then you can go run the American Ninja Warrior course. We gotta get my leg checked out though, for real, that hurt. Number 7 is that the show is not live. We already filmed the upcoming season that's coming out in June back in September, almost a year ago. A lot of people think that when the show is aired, since the show is not live, we get to have watch parties after we run. So they take time to edit the show, take a few months to do that, and then when the show airs, we get to relive all the amazing moments we experienced on set months before. And depending on the season, sometimes we film all of it in Vegas, sometimes we go to LA, we've been to Washington, Texas, all super fun places, but one thing's always in common, the show is always pre-filmed. My hands are just kind of slippery. Which reminds me, the conditions heavily affect what happens out on the course. Since we film everything outside, sometimes the mega wall gets super dusty, sometimes there's condensation and the obstacles get extra slippery. One big example is season 14, episode 9. Partway through the night, it started raining, which made some of the mats more slippery and made some of the obstacles have more condensation on them. On the kaleidoscope, we saw a lot more fails that night because the cliffhangers were extra slippery. Luckily, usually if one person has to deal with those conditions, then everyone does, which makes it an even playing field, but it definitely is a lot harder. I remember one time in Vegas, there was winds up to 50 miles an hour, and it made the course so much harder. The jumping spider was extra slippery that year, and I barely made it through. Number 9 is that if you get close enough to the booth, you can actually hear Matt and Akbar while you're running. I remember my very first run on American Ninja Warrior. It was in the Tacoma Dome, right? There was no audience because it was back in the COVID-19 days. So the only people that were there were me, my dad, Matt, and Akbar. I got to the 5th obstacle and I heard something. I was like, what's that? It was Matt and Akbar talking. I heard them talking about ocean conservation. I heard them talking about my YouTube channel, which you're watching right now, so subscribe and like. It made the moment so much more surreal because I was like, wow, I'm on the American Ninja Warrior course right now. I have Matt and Akbar up there who I see on TV all the time, and it made me enjoy the moment even more on my first ever run on the show. All right, final one, number 10, is that we're all so nervous. You guys might watch some of the best ninjas and think, how do they not get nervous when they run the course? Well, I can promise you guys, doesn't matter who you're talking about. If we're talking about Vance, who's won the show twice. If we're talking about 𝗃𝗃𝗀𝗀𝗀𝗧, one of the best ninjas in the world. If we're talking about me, I made it to stage 3 once. Everyone gets nervous. If you look closely at anyone's face when they're on the starting line, they are freaking out on the inside, but we're all just trying to play it cool, right? Because we train so hard for this. You only get one shot of the show, and if you fall in that water, it's all over in an instant. And this is a lesson to anyone out there who has a dream. You might look at your idols and think, how do they not get nervous? I could never be like them. But I always thought that about my idols when I was younger watching Ninja Warrior. I always thought I could never reach that, and then later in my life, I was able to compete on the show 4 times now and make it to the finals every season. So if you have a dream, make sure to chase it, because then you could be the next person who inspires others. Which brings me to my new coaching website, www.𝗃𝗟𝗘𝗖𝗧𝗥𝗜𝗖𝗀. You guys can purchase 30-minute virtual lessons, 60-minute virtual lessons, and if you live near Clearwater, Florida, you can buy an in-person lesson. All the prices are listed on the website. But wait, there's more. You can book a 15-minute free consultation call with me to decide what option works best for you. And on that call, we can discuss what you want to train and how you want to train and for how long you want to train. And if you're under 18, there must be a parent present on that call. And then we can decide from there which option you want to go with, how many lessons you'd like to buy. And since the site just launched, prices are really low right now, so make sure to go check it out before they end up rising. And I'm really excited to coach and train with some of you guys. And that's going to be it for the video. I hope you enjoyed the 10 facts about Ninja Warrior that you might not know. Let me know which facts that you already knew in the comments, and we'll see you guys in the next one. Bye.